Right, well this is the Moment 4 4K action camera from Vantop. It's a company that's new to me, don't know anything about them. First thing I notice is it's got two buttons on the top of the camera here, which is the first time I've ever seen that. So I doubt very much it's a clone. Let's see what else you get in the box anyway, and then we'll take a closer look at the camera. As you saw, it's packed in this nice cylindrical case, which again is the first time I've ever seen, but they don't make it easy for you, do they? Come on now, out you come. Yes, I've got it. Oh, right, anyway, didn't know that was going to happen. So, let's see what you've got. You've got a folding backpack. Again, that's new to me. This looks like a new and innovative company. So you've got a backpack in here. Won't bother to get it out, but that looks interesting. What else have you got? Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is you've got a wrist remote. That's not a standard accessory for most cameras. Other thing I noticed is you've got two batteries. That's also not very standard. Now, if you're not familiar with the way cameras attach, you have some stick-on mounts that you can put on your skateboard or flying helmet or motorbike helmet or whatever you want to do. You have brackets that slide in, like so, and then you have some little standoffs that attach to the mount, and then you attach the waterproof case to the standoff. Incidentally, I noticed you've got another mount on that. So you've got mounts, handlebar mount, male and female tripod mounts, cable ties, extra sticky pads for the stick-on mounts, lens cleaning cloth, USB cable, a little leaflet that's offering you free accessories if you make a review, including a double battery charger, and so on. And of course, as you can see, you've got a QR code that takes you to their website and so on. And you've got a couple of straps here, which means you can put these mounts on by feeding it through and put it on your leg or arm or somewhere. Plus, you've got a Velcro strap for the wrist remote. You've got a couple of cards here about care, contact details, and you've got the manual, which is extremely good. Okay then, so let's take a look at the camera. Well, first off, I'd better get it out of this. So if you're not familiar with these again, which you may not be, brackets slide in and out. This has actually got a locking tab on it here, so you've got to pull that out, pinch the ends of the bracket, and it slides out. You could also use that as a mount, couldn't you, if you wanted? That's clever, yeah. Right, so case. As I mentioned, you've already got one bracket on this. Open the case by, pop it that way. Bit of a tip here, when you do come to close these cases, make sure you actually squeeze the case before closing the bracket, because especially when they're new, they're very tight and you're liable to break the bracket unless you do that. Anyway, I digress. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. It doesn't want to come out. Right, well, I mentioned you've got a case. Looks nicely made. Don't forget to take off these little protective films, otherwise it'll spoil your image. Case looks fine. I don't know, probably waterproof to 10-20 meters, whatever. Certainly good enough for most purposes. And you've got the camera. Quite lightweight, 70 grams. We'll take a closer look once I put it on charge, but the first thing I notice is you've got a tripod mount screw on it. But anyway, I'm not going to go into detail about that. Well, the first thing I've got to do is find a card, put the battery in, put it on charge. Obviously open that just by flipping that open, and it's pretty obvious which way batteries go in because you've got three little tags there, and if you look inside the case you've got three little tags there, so that goes in like so. And while I'm at it, I notice the card goes in here, so I've got to find a card, put it on charge, take a look at the manual for a change, and then I'll come back to you and we'll take a closer look at this. It doesn't look like a clone to me. Very unusually, you've got two buttons on the top. I have never seen that before. I'll be back in an hour or two once it's charged. Right, well, I've got it on charge, and without even looking at the manual, I see there's a little red light here on the back, which no doubt will go out once it's charged. Right, so let's take a closer look at this, and then we'll take a look at the wrist remote, and then the Wi-Fi app, and then a good long look at some test clips. But anyway, the camera. First off, the case. I mentioned it was quite lightweight. It's probably a few grams lighter than many. Plastic case, but looks nicely made. As you can see, it's got this textured finish on the front here. It's pretty attractive looking. On the front, 170 degree wide angle lens, which is the same as 95% of all action cameras. In the base, As I showed you before, you've got the battery slot, which has also got the slot for the micro SD card. You do need to use class 10, and this is U3, which is the high speed one, and it's quite happy with 64 gig Samsung Evo that I'm using here. It goes in logo side towards the screen like so, and it's a good idea to go into the settings menu and format a card once you put it in, because then you'll know it should work with the camera you're using. But be warned, you touch OK, it also erases everything on the card. If you're recording in 4K, you do need a high-speed card. But having mentioned the 4K, in fact, it's interpolated 4K on this, because the OV4689 sensor is not capable of native 4K. And incidentally, it's a Novatech processor. But it seems to be pretty quick when I've used it, being the operation of it. You've also, in the base, got this 1/4" tripod mount. Now, somebody asked me the other day on YouTube, how do you mount if you don't want to use it in a waterproof case? Well, in the accessories there, you've got these little tripod mount things, so you can always mount that onto a bracket, like so, and then screw straight into this, if you don't need it to be in a waterproof case. And also that way you get better audio, because any camera that's in a waterproof case does tend to have pretty muffled sound. You've also got this little cover here that covers the micro USB slot, which is used for plugging in and charging, or plug it into your computer and you can retrieve your files, or you can use it as a webcam. You've also got micro HDMI out, and I saw it mentioned that this is FPV capable, so if you fly FPV drones and stuff, it should be FPV capable. Now, one thing I'm not sure about is whether the FPV output is via the micro USB, or whether you need a micro HDMI lead out. That is something you'd have to ask Vantop. Anyway, away from that, on the back you've got a nice colour touchscreen. I'll turn it on and you'll see that in a second. On this end, speaker, and on the top, microphone holes and the 2 buttons. That's power on off and settings, as you can see by the symbol, and the shutter button. So let's turn it on. To turn it on, it's a 3-second press, and I found it booted up very quickly, and the touchscreen was very responsive. So what do you see on this display? You've got a playback symbol there. It's telling me I'm in video at 1080, 60 frames a second, with the wide angle of view. Speaking of which, you can change the angle of view from wide to middle to narrow, but you do lose quality, because basically what it does is uses a smaller part of the sensor. You've got a settings menu there. You've got the battery state indicator, a little hand flashing there which shows the EIS gyro stabilization is on. That shows the duration of video at that resolution that I can record on a 64 gig card, 6 hours 30 minutes, which is one hell of a lot of video. Incidentally, getting back to the battery, they say charge time 2 hours and battery life about 1 hour 10 minutes, although I got an hour and a half recording continuously at 1080 60. As you saw there, the screen has auto shut down after a minute. I talk too much. Press it again, I've woken it up. So press the shutter button, tiny little beep, and it's actually got voice prompt there. Now I've got the volume turned up full, but you could still barely hear that. But I guess if you're a poorly sighted person, that could be useful to tell you that you've actually turned it on. So it's recording, it's counting down there, 13 seconds, 14 seconds. You've got a little blue light flashing there, telling you you're recording, but unfortunately that is the only indication that you're recording. Now they've missed a trick here, not putting a light on it somewhere, because I did find it a bit difficult to see whether or not I was recording. Press the button again and you get a little voice prompt telling you it's stopped recording. Obviously that stopped flashing. Now it's touchscreen, the manual is very good, but to be honest, most decent touchscreen cameras, you barely need a manual, because if you just swipe it a few ways and touch a few things, you'll work it out. So for example, to start with, that's the easiest way to access the different modes. As you can see, you've got video, photo, touch it again, you can use it for motion detecting, so you could use it for security. You've got car mode, and you've got loop recording, so car mode will mean that if you attach it to external power, when you turn on your car ignition, it will start recording. Video lapse, which is time lapse basically, And just to show you, when I'm in video lapse mode, if I then touch settings, I can change the duration of the video lapse to a 5 second, 2 second, 1 second or whatever, and obviously that's back. And that little symbol now is showing you I'm in video lapse, but I'll come out of that. Basically there's too much to go through everything here in detail. You'd have to charge it, put a card in and play with it. You've got slow motion, photo lapse, which is periodic photos. Burst mode is a series of photos in one hit. I'll show you that. It should go click, click, click. Perhaps you heard it, I don't know, but it's taking a series of photos, and again, there you go, burst mode. You can take 3 in one shutter release, 5 or 10. Come back out of that and go back into there. You've got underwater mode, which I think basically just changes the colour balance. And that covers that. So I've got it in burst mode, so just to show you, to go back into video mode, touch video and the icon's showing the video camera. But also when it's in the case, you see that shows a settings icon. If I give it a short press, you can see it's changed to burst mode, it's changed to camera mode, and it's come back up with that screen now. So basically you can use various ways of changing the mode you're in, but obviously the best way is to use the touchscreen. Incidentally, you can also start and stop recording by touching that little icon there. And you see it's counting down and that little tiny blue light's flashing. It is just such a shame they didn't put a decent light somewhere. Touch it again. Now you can also change mode by swiping. And as you can see, swipe once left to right, it's gone to burst mode. Swipe again, I've gone back to video mode. Now if I was not in burst photo mode before that, if we put it in photo mode and I swipe, I go from video mode to camera mode, and camera mode back to video mode. Now incidentally, I forgot to mention, you've got a little icon there of a microphone. If you accidentally touch that, you're going to mute the video because it's turned off the microphone. So that is something you do need to watch out for. So to go even further, swipe down. You've got another menu, turn Wi-Fi on and off, turn on FPV output, screen lock and power off. Swipe back up, you can get rid of that menu. Incidentally, you can turn on the Wi-Fi by long press of the shutter. And as I mentioned, I'll show you the Wi-Fi app after going through all this stuff. Long press again, turn off the Wi-Fi. Mentioned this is playback, you've got playback there. And it does have sound. You'll not see there's much there apart from me testing it. And that's return. So dead easy to use interface. Now I'll show you a bit more detail about settings. I'm in video mode, so you can change resolution, loop recording, field of view, low light, which is by default on, wide dynamic range, gyro sensor on or off, by default it's on. Audio on or off, volume I've got at 8. You can turn the timestamp off. You'll see some of those little clips have got a timestamp. Sharpness, I've just got it on normal. White balance, auto. Colour, interestingly enough, you've got black and white or retro. Now retro's rather nice. It gives you a kind of beigey, vintage looking, and you've got warm colour. I tend to use, oh, you've got cool as well. I tend to just use normal. Coming back out of that exposure value, you'll need to look that up. It just means you can change the amount of exposure. Distortion correction should take out the... I'm sorry I'm going through these like a steam train. There are just too many to explain fully. Changes should change the distortion effect of the fisheye lens. And you've got system settings. Now people ask me, how do you format a card? Just basically go into system settings and touch format. Change the date, time, change the language. Loop recording, oh, I've been there, low light. I think I've pretty much covered everything there, and I'm sorry it's so long, but there's a lot to go through. So let's take a quick look at the wrist remote. Now I don't know if you have to pair this. The battery was already in it when I got it because I pressed a button and the light came on. Oh yeah, look at that. No pairing involved. I just pressed the button and it started recording. Easy. Press again. You can hear the voice prompt and it stopped. Press again. Take a still. Hey, that's great. Now I usually get asked, are these waterproof? They're sometimes water resistant, but I wouldn't rely too much on it. And apart from that, as far as waterproof goes, I have serious doubt that the wireless signal would actually carry underwater anyway, so using a wrist remote underwater is pointless. But probably useful and okay for using it if you were, say, windsurfing or kayaking or something. So that was great. That was easier than I've ever seen with a wrist remote. Yeah, I like that. Press again, straight back into video mode, and it immediately starts recording. Hey, that is cool. Stop. And I don't know, maybe you can hear the voice prompt. Well, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say about the camera. Results I've seen so far have been very good. It does shoot 4K, and even though it's interpolated, it's got EIS at 4K. That's gyro stabilization. Although personally I think 1080 at 60 is probably the best resolution and speed to use for action sports. So perhaps it's time we had a quick look at the Wi-Fi app before looking at some longer clips. Right, the Wi-Fi app. First off, now if you've had a smartphone for some time, you probably know how to install apps. You've got a QR code here, so you could scan that with a free QR code scanner, or you can go into App Store or Google Play and search CamKing or CamKing Pro. One of them had pretty poor reviews, so I installed CamKing Pro, and that seems to work fine for me. The password for that first installation, I'm looking at the German there, doesn't make any odds though, is 12345678. But of course you only need to use that once when you connect through the Wi-Fi on that initial occasion. So once you've got it installed, turn on the Wi-Fi, and as I said, you can either swipe down for that quick menu, turn on Wi-Fi there, or you can long press the shutter release. Tells you there the password anyway, 12345678. Go into your settings, network, internet, Wi-Fi, and then you can see it says Action Cam, no internet access, connect. And my phone always says, do I really want to connect? I don't know what yours does, but obviously you have to say yes. Do I want to connect? Yes. And then we go to the app. Right, connecting to the camera, and as you can see, it is connecting because it's looking at whatever I'm looking at. There's a bit of lag there, but not too bad, because as I mentioned, you can use it for FPV flying. I said the manual's very good. One thing it doesn't go in too much is using the app, but if you explore it a bit, you'll find out very quickly what to do. For starters, you can start recording. As you can see, we're counting down here, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. You can hit the top right, change settings, come back out of that. You can then go into gallery, and you can either play your amazing video or give it a long press so it's got a tick. You can download with that little icon there, which looks like a download symbol, or you can download, go into phone as opposed to camera up there, which in other words means it's now stored on the phone, and you've actually got a share icon here. So again, if I highlight that, tick, you've got a share app here, so you could share it to WhatsApp, YouTube, Gmail, upload and do various things with it. So pretty much a standard kind of phone app. One thing about these things is if you wanted to record some wildlife or something, you could probably put this 10 meters away, stop start, while you were actually viewing the screen on your phone. Or if you were doing an action sport somewhere, you could view your action footage on your phone or tablet while you were in the middle of nowhere in a field somewhere. So all in all, pretty useful app, installed easily enough and works fine. And to come out of the Wi-Fi or disconnect, just long press the shutter again and you're back to normal mode. So I think that covers that. It's probably time to move on and look at some more test clips. Right, well, before we get on with the test clips, I thought I'd give you a few impressions having used it for a few days. First off, I'm very impressed with the video quality, and you'll see in my tests that I've actually compared it with a camera twice the price, the SJCam SJ7 Star, which is actually one of my favourites. I think the colour and the sharpness compare equally with that, which is quite something really. I've got some clips there, a bit of slow motion. 4 times is a bit more effective than twice. I did a quick time-lapse riding. Oh, there's some motorcycle clips there. Some clips around town, in a shopping mall, an arcade, a bit lower light and so on. But all in all, very impressed with this little camera. They quote just 70 minutes recording time in the manual, but in my recording test, continuous recording, I actually got 90 minutes. So with 2 batteries, you've got 3 hours recording time there. And the only other thing, as I did mention, was, in fact I'm recording now, as you can see, it's not easy to see from the outside of the case or the front whether you're recording or not, but you do get used to just checking that you've got this little blue light flashing there and little blue light there, so it's not a major concern really. Before we get to the clips, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed my video, please hit subscribe down there and maybe give me a like. Loads of stuff on my channel, and if you've got time, check out my channel for some of the other stuff. There's some sailing, paragliding, paramotoring, wildlife, radio controlled model aircraft, all kinds of stuff. There's sure to be something there to keep you amused on a wet afternoon. But that's it for now. Thanks again. Hopefully I'll catch you again soon. Let's get on with the clips. What they're like into the sun. That's quite a test for anything. Into the sun and into the shade. It's pretty dark in this arcade. Well, this is one of my usual test spots, but as you can see, there's a lot of work going on here at the moment. But at least you get a chance for a look at the harbour. And by the way, all the audio is from the camera. And the video is all at 1080-60 with the EIS on. This is 1080-60. I find this a good test because you've got some stuff in the foreground and then way down towards the end of the pier, so it gives you a chance to see what the focus is like. Right, so let's see how a 50 or 60 pound camera here compares with a camera twice the price, the SJCam SJ7 Star, which is one of my favourites. They're both at 1080-60 and they've both got EIS gyro stabilisation on. And it's quite tricky because you've got subjects in shade there, you've got subjects in sun here, and you've got some definitions you can look at on the rigging, and you've got the shop signs which are in shade. And here's a bit of a gyro stabilisation comparison between the two. That's quite severe shaking, and that's just gentle swaying. That's gentle rocking, and that's severe shaking. Be interesting to see how they compare. Right, that'll do. This is 1080-60. I find this a good test because you've got some stuff in the foreground and then way down towards the end of the pier, so it gives you a chance to see what the focus is like.